I want to dive right into it and talk about the upcoming episodes that you'll be starring in. It was dope to sit in and see this kind of acted out. I'm a fan of the show, first and foremost. I like how you have, the workplace and music and everything. I don't want to call it a sitcom musical, but it is almost to that extent. And you guys highlighted a very real issue that's been going on in America for years. But I think 2020 has allowed us to highlight it a whole lot more as far as systemic racism in the workplace. Can you talk to me about what the set was like while you were filming these two episodes?
I mean, honestly, man, the set, I think we had the opportunity to, there's a lot of work we did beforehand. There was a lot of collaboration among all parties beforehand. Like, I had a conversation with our showrunner about it way back in June, July, you know what I'm saying, as we were moving, and he told me about what the plans were. But I'll say specifically for me on set, it felt very raw. It was very raw. It was very emotional. It felt very, I remember there were some scenes where like we would shoot the scene, and then after the scene, I remember going back to the green room with Jane, specifically the scene where we're both in the office and we're having the conversation that we have. I went back into the green room and I just felt so naked. I just wept for a little bit. Just like, it's a lot, you know what I'm saying? And we're in a space where, fortunately, everybody that we're around has, there was room for our creativity. There was room for us to feel everything we needed to feel, to work out what we needed to do with the scene, to do the work, you know what I'm saying? For the individual, it costs a lot, bro. And it was one of those things where I remember I looked at Jane and she looked at me and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "This is what I want." Like, this is, like, I choose to do this. Like, I'm not a victim. Like, I choose to do this. I choose to tell the story. I choose to use my instrument to embody this character that's moving through this, because in a lot of ways, I know exactly what this is. I know what it is to be in white spaces and to amputate and cut away parts of myself to fit, to make sure that like I survive. And then I know what it's like to communicate and be connected to other Black and brown bodies around me, and to realize when I'm in a position of power, to realize the responsibility I have to take up more space on behalf of not only myself, but everyone around me. And I've also been the recipient of people taking up space on my behalf. So it was a pretty profound experience for me, bro. Yeah.
Episode 206 also has some pretty dope music, if I could say so. Mary J. Blige's "No More Drama." I like how things stuck to the theme, of course, as well. Tracks of My Tears with Smokey Robinson. Did you play a hand at all in choosing any of the music that was played during that particular show?
No, I mean, as far as the music that was played in the show, that was our writers in our writers' room. They were intentional. Zora was intentional. Austin, as well as showrunner, was very intentional about making sure that all of the artists that we sang in this episode were Black artists. And I think that that's instrumental to the kind of authenticity that we wanted to bring to the episode. Like, you can't tell a story about systemic racism in the workplace and have the music not be Black and like Black or brown, you know what I'm saying? I think it's essential to the narrative. And then what I found is the artist, the actor that reads the script and reads the lyrics. As I read the lyrics, I was like, oh, wow, this, Black men in a white world, no more drama, tracks of my tears. They encapsulate the experience so well because they're Black voices, right? And it gives me all the ammunition I need as the actor to dive into the space and to tell the story with the truth that I want.
Do you think the year 2020 and even it's early in 2021, but the impact that we've seen as far as civil rights, I guess you would call it a civil rights movement of our era, last year with the protesting that took place in the streets and things of that nature, we've seen it across the sports world, we've seen it in Hollywood as well. Do you feel like that gave a easier sense of being able to speak to the audience and the audience really understanding what's going on? And when I say audience, I want to say not just people of color, but speaking of white audiences and other races.
I think that I won't say that it's easier. I can't say that, but I will say that I think because I've been in a space where, with not only that, we've been in pandemic times, And in pandemic times, with this massive social movement, right, and this massive civil rights movement, you have everyone confined in a space where they can't run away. They can't just like run into their jobs or run away and go do a whole bunch of other stuff. They're stuck and they're having to deal with everything as it's coming at them. So it makes them, everyone that's had walls up, that has been hardened, they've been made softer because of the circumstances that we've been living in. And I think that what we find, and I hope that what we find with this episode, and I think what we found as well, as we built and made the episode together with, you know, collaborators, and a lot of our, you know, we're making the episode with Black, white, brown, all of these different perspectives. I find that there is a porousness, there's a softness, there's a desire to understand, and also a acknowledgement that like they don't know. Because I think that one of the things that's the thing about this, the idea of specifically when it comes to white people, is these blind spots, these things that they don't know that they don't know. Like they can choose not to confront things, right? But because of pandemic and things, they haven't had the choice. They have no choice but to confront and be confronted with, which means that like these blind spots are coming down, and they have to deal with the ramifications of awareness, and that awareness and that responsibility. And so I find that, you know, with this episode specifically, with everyone that we worked with, I think from top to bottom, like it has brought up a lot with so many different people. It's brought up a lot about personal blind spots, brought up a lot concerning how I specifically have moved in spaces, and the responsibility that I have as a Black man in space, and how much space I choose to take up. So I think it hits a lot of different notes, man.
Do you think in this show, doing Zoey's playlist, that you've had a chance to show more of your talent and more different ways of how you perfected your craft? Because as I mentioned, I don't want to say it's a sitcom musical, but you're doing a lot of things. You're acting, you're also performing songs, you're dancing as well. So having those three different elements involved in this show, do you feel like that gives you a different chance to really show your craft and show how good you are with your art?
Oh, absolutely, man. I think this show is a beautiful canvas for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I get to paint, and I get to paint in all different kinds of ways, use all different kinds of techniques and things that have always been a part of my artistry, but like I haven't necessarily embraced those things in the way that I've had to in order to do this job. And I understand what you're saying. You said it's not like it's a sitcom kind of show, but it's not, but it is. It's like, because we ride this very specific line with our tone. Like it's really funny, it's really lighthearted, it's really joyful, and yet we still get to the heart and get to the guts of things. And Austin Winsberg, our showrunner, you know, he's very specific about riding this tonal line, and I think that he does a masterful job with it, with the writing and the crafting of the show. So yeah, man, it's for me, it's a joy and it's a challenge. And I think that a lot of times, and this is the way that I love to live my life as an artist, like when I booked this show, it was like jumping off of a cliff and not knowing how I was going to land or if I was going to land. I didn't know what was going to actually be required to do this work. When I booked the show, I just sang some songs that I really believed in, and I decided to audition for Simon because I lost my father when I was 19, and it was something that really impacted me. And I was like, I know this experience. I know the experience of being in my body and losing my father and the process of grief. I know that. And I want to tell the truth in that respect. So I feel responsible for that. I want to do it. That's the reason I auditioned for Zoey's. And then after that, I realized that I'd be dancing like I am. After that, I realized the kinds of songs that I'd be singing after that. And so it was like, so then it's like, oh, you want me to bend like that? Okay, we'll see. We'll see. And then, you know, I find over time with like Mandy, masterful choreographer, and Jilly and Jeffrey, masterful artists. You know what I'm saying? Like they, in the first season, I feel like so much of it was me getting in touch with my instrument as a mover and as a singer and getting comfortable and confident with that. And I feel like this season, they created a very beautiful space for that, and encouraged and uplifted and really used the vocabulary that I brought to the table and like just wove beautiful things that I could not do on my own, right? And this season, I feel like I'm coming into the space as more of a collaborative entity. Like I'm coming into the space with ideas. I'm coming into the space with a way of working now with my body and my instrument. And I think it deepens our experience as we're building together. It deepens my experience as the dancer and actor receiving the choreography, because when they give me the choreo, I take it in and I have to metabolize it. And I have now a way of working that with my instrument where like I have to take in all of the input and I take in all of the input and all of the choreography, and I kind of have to fuse it with character and with emotion and with intent and with spirit and soul. I have to do all of that. And a lot of that work, the fusing work, is sometimes done in the moment on the day as I'm receiving the choreo, but sometimes that's done on my own, where it's like I get the steps and I know exactly what that thing is, and then I have to fuse it and endow it, and then it can become the thing that I want it to be.
I'm very curious to find out, what is a typical work day like now when you're on set or when you're filming, being as though we are in different times with the pandemic and everything. Americans are kind of learning how to adjust, but there's still a lot of unknowns. How have things changed? Are you on set longer? What is a day typically like now in this new era that we're in?
Well, the biggest change is probably that we have to get tested. So we get tested very frequently, 3 times a week minimum. And we have to wear all of the protective garments. Like we're always wearing masks all throughout the day. We don't go anywhere without a mask on. And then when we're on set, we have the mask on even while we're rehearsing. And then after we rehearse and do all of that stuff, then we take off the mask and we shoot. We have to continually sanitize our hands. We have to be socially distanced. And so in the beginning, there was an adjustment period, but now it feels like it's just the way that we work. You know, it's just the way that we work. And I find that for me, it's jarring sometimes, because in the world of Zoey's, there is no COVID, right? When there is no COVID in that world. And so to live in an imaginative world where COVID doesn't exist, and then pop right out, and then to COVID very much existing, that is kind of jarring sometimes. But that's, I'm very grateful because I'm an actor, I'm working. So many of my colleagues and friends are moving through different circumstances right now. And I get to work on something that I believe in. I get to work on something that matters to me and that brings joy to a lot of different people. And so there's a massive gift in that, man. I have no complaints on my end. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a very extensive catalog? Do you feel like some of your previous roles, whether on Hawaii Five-0, Gotham, Luke Cage, do you feel like any of those roles prepared you for Simon?
I think that a lot of the things that I think everything is built to the next thing, but I think that the stuff that's most prepared me for Simon has been like working the theater, like before any TV stuff. TV in my career has only been the past 5 years. And I think that I've been really grateful for the work and the experience and the shows and the people that I've had the opportunity to work with and learn from. Like Luke Cage, being able to watch Alfre Woodard do what she'd like, be masterful, and watch Theo Rossi like be masterful. It's just an amazing experience. But for me, this show is so all-encompassing when it comes to the things that it requires, like the singing, the dancing, the acting. A lot of times when we're doing these things, it's in one shot, so there are no cut-ups, and we're not finding the best moments and piecing it together in post with editing. We have to have the cohesive experience down, and then we have to learn it, we have to get it, and when the camera rolls, it rolls, and then we go and we do the thing. So I've been doing there's like TV has been the past 5-6 years, but I've been working in the theater for over a decade. So it's like, and for me, mind you, I think sometimes people get this idea, like with working actors, this idea, like, did you do Broadway or whatever? I didn't. I grew up in Georgia. I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia. My first times in doing theater were doing educational theater. And then I worked at the Alliance Theater in Atlanta, Georgia, then Actors Theater of Louisville in Kentucky, then moved up to New York and did stuff here and there. But like so much of my life and my world has been forged in those spaces where there weren't a whole lot of cameras. There's not a whole lot of people that know who you are. You're just going with a group of people and you're making something that you believe in. And from shows like The Whipping Man way back in the day at the Alliance to Choir Boy, the first iteration, understudying that off Broadway at Manhattan Theater Club and taking over it when they did a co-pro at the Alliance, and getting to sit in the skin and be part of a process with, you know, that show being a part of a process that includes like just some incredible talents. Think about the people that I worked with on that show and where they are now and what they're doing, like Terrell McCraney, who wrote it. Trip Coleman, who's a prolific director, you know, directed it. Jeremy Pope was the lead, who's doing everything. Nick Ash, everything. Kyle Beltran, I understudied him. He's a phenomenal actor. You know, Josh Boone, who's just an insane actor. Chuck Cooper, Austin Pendleton. I mean, I got to sit back and watch these masters do their thing and be a part of that, and to see what it's like to see to witness a new kind of archetype and story birthed into the world. And that's the kind of thing that I want to do with my art. That's the kind of story that I want to be a part of. And with Zoey, I get the opportunity to do that. I get the opportunity to embody and be responsible for a character and a story, and really flush them out in the way that I feel called to do, which is dope.
I'm going to let you go in a moment. I know you have a very tight schedule. It's dope to hear you say something about the Alliance Theater. And my daughter actually, right before COVID, she takes lessons at the Alliance Theater. So it's great to see.
Are you serious?
It's great to see what can become in the future. But before I let you go, man, just one final question. I want to know, what do you want people of color, Black men, white people in society and in the workplace, what do you want them to take from episode 206?
What do I want them to take? I think that what's most important to me, one, I want them to take away whatever they take away, right? I think that what we've done right here is we've tried, each of us that has been a part of this process has tried to be so authentic and honest. We've tried to tell the truth, the best of our ability, given whatever parameters we've been given. But we've tried to give our very best. And in doing so, I think that we got to something that we're all proud of. And the best thing that I hope for any audience, white, Black, brown, first gen, queer, whomever, that sees this, is that they see themselves. They see that it's so specific that it rings true to them, that it challenges them, that it gives them something to aspire to. For white people, that it shows what it looks like to be in process. I think that there's this idea that you somehow decide I'm an ally, and then all of a sudden, like a fairy godmother comes down, hits you on the head with a wand, and all of a sudden, like you never do anything problematic again. That's not the way it works. There's process, and in that process, you try and you fail, and you try and you fail, and you learn how to do better. And you learn how to do better in your private spaces. You learn how to do better with fellow white people, and you learn how to not bring that stuff to your Black friends, like, and expecting them to fix the things for you. And Zoey gets to go through all of that, right? And for Black and brown bodies that watch this, I hope that they just see themselves. I hope that they see themselves in the characters, and what they're moving through, what they overcome, what they're still in process with at the end, because it's not over, you know. And I think that we do it at the end. It's not over. It's not a done deal. It's still in process. But as long as they see themselves and it resonates as true, that's the thing that's most important to me.
John, thank you so much for your time today, man. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you very much for everything that you went through emotionally to get the character, to play that, you know, character Simon in episode 206. Very powerful. I think that everyone in the workplace should sit down and kind of watch that as a tutorial. It does speak on so many different levels. I wish you nothing but continued success. And please keep giving us great comedy shows and things that we can sit back and enjoy.
You got it, brother. Thank you.
Take care.